law that governs nearly every social interaction in our world. A silent creed that has been programmed into us since childhood. It is the gospel of goodness, a belief so fundamental we rarely think to question it. The law states that a person's worth is measured by their willingness to serve others. You are taught that to be loved, to be respected, to be considered a decent human being, you must always give your time, your energy, and your resources. You must always say yes. To refuse a request for help is to commit a social crime. The moment you hesitate, the moment you put your own needs first, you are branded with ugly words. You are selfish. You are uncaring. You are defective. This simple, brutal system of reward and punishment keeps us in line, turning us into a society of eager martyrs, desperately trying to prove our worth by erasing ourselves. But that is only what you are meant to see. The truth is far more sinister. What if I told you this entire moral framework is not a guide to virtue, but a carefully engineered system of control? What if the compulsion to help is not a sign of your goodness, but a symptom of your conditioning? This isn't just a philosophical theory. Documents declassified in 2019 revealed a shocking series of social experiments from the 1960s, known as the Ashworth-Lansing paradigm. Researchers discovered that societies that heavily promote unconditional giving become easier to manipulate, but at a terrible cost. The population becomes emotionally dependent, incapable of true resilience. This compulsive kindness doesn't build strong people. It creates a cycle of weakness. It turns the giver into an exhausted shell, hollowed out by resentment, and it transforms the receiver into an emotional cripple, unable to face life without a crutch. Your act of help becomes the very thing that prevents growth, that suffocates potential, that stands between a person and the harsh but necessary lessons of reality. The system was never designed to make anyone better. It was designed to keep everyone broken. So what happens when you finally see the bars of this invisible prison? What if the most compassionate act you could perform is not to give, but to refuse?
Let's be brutally clear. The compulsive urge to fix another person's life is not an expression of love. It is an act of sabotage. Every time you rush in to solve a problem that is not your own, every time you shield someone from the direct consequences of their decisions, you are not lifting them up. You are standing directly in the path of their evolution, disrupting the most essential curriculum of human existence, the one taught by life itself. Think of it this way. When a butterfly struggles to break free from its chrysalis, that desperate fight is not a flaw in the process. It is the process. The struggle forces fluid into its wings, giving them the strength needed for flight. If you, in a moment of misguided compassion, were to snip the chrysalis open to help it, you would doom it. The creature would emerge with limp, useless wings and would never fly. Your help would be its death sentence. This is exactly what you are doing. You are not helping. You are crippling. You are engaging in what a 2018 Swiss psychological study termed consequential deprivation syndrome. Researchers found that individuals who were consistently rescued from the outcomes of their poor choices, financial, relational, or professional, did not become stronger. They became catastrophically weaker, trapped in a state of perpetual immaturity, utterly unequipped to navigate reality. You are not their savior, you are the architect of their prison. When you pay the bill for the friend who constantly overspends, you are not teaching them financial responsibility. You are teaching them that their irresponsibility has no cost. When you make excuses for a loved one's bad behavior, you are not fostering understanding. You are building a protective bubble around them, ensuring they never have to confront who they truly are. You are intercepting the critical messages that life is desperately trying to send them, replacing profound wisdom with your own shallow temporary fix. But this intervention comes at a horrifying price. Every rescue mission you undertake robs them of a piece of their own power. It steals their opportunity to discover their own strength, to earn the unshakable confidence that comes only from overcoming a challenge by oneself. You are not a helper. You are a thief, stealing the most precious jewels of human experience, resilience, wisdom, and self-respect. And for what? To momentarily soothe your own discomfort at seeing someone else struggle. Your help is not for them. It is a selfish act to manage your own anxiety. It is the most insidious form of interference imaginable.
Now, I can hear the objection forming in your mind, the alarm bells of your lifelong conditioning screaming in protest. So what are you suggesting? That we become cold, indifferent monsters? That we simply turn our backs on everyone in need? This is the predictable backlash, the defensive reflex of a deeply embedded program. But to leap to that conclusion is to miss the entire point. That would be another extreme, wouldn't it? Trading the prison of compulsive giving for the desolate prison of bitter indifference. This is not a call for a colder heart. It is a demand for a smarter one. The question is not whether we should care. The fundamental question of a conscious life is how we care. True compassion is not a blind, sentimental flood of emotion. It is an act of supreme intelligence. It is the wisdom to know when your help is a seed that will grow into a mighty tree, and when it is merely water being poured into a bottomless pit. You must understand a critical, unchangeable law of the universe. Your energy is a finite resource. Your time, your focus, your emotional capacity, they are not an infinite ocean. They are a sacred, limited wellspring. And every single day you make a choice about where you will invest that life force. To give it away indiscriminately is not noble. It is disastrously poor management of your most valuable asset. Because you see, there are certain types of people who are not looking for a hand up. They are looking for a host. These are not people who are struggling. They are people who have weaponized struggle. They will drain you dry. They will take and take and take, and no matter how much you pour into their shattered cups, they will never be full. A chilling 2021 study from the Kyoto Institute on what they termed energetic symbiosis found that individuals with specific personality markers did not use external support to improve their situation. Instead, the support became a substitute for their own effort, creating a feedback loop where their dependency grew in direct proportion to the help they received. The more you gave, the less capable they became. The tragedy here is not that they are taking from you. That is their nature. The real, soul-crushing tragedy is that by continuing to give, you are actively participating in their stagnation. You are preventing them from the very rock-bottom moment that might finally force them to grow. You are locking them into their own self-made cages. So we must learn discernment. We must learn to see the difference between a person who needs a ladder and a person who will simply chop your ladder into firewood, leaving you both trapped in the hole.
So, how do we cultivate this ruthless, necessary wisdom? How do we train our eyes to distinguish between a soul in the midst of a genuine storm and one that has simply learned to make a living by chasing clouds? To do this, we must become something more than sentimental helpers. We must become discerning observers of human nature, armed with a new framework for understanding the invisible currents of energy that flow between people. I am about to hand you a map. This is not a map for judging others, but a map for navigating the treacherous terrain of human relationships. It is a field guide to the soul's most draining archetypes, a survival manual for the compassionate heart. We are going to explore 10 specific, recognizable patterns of behavior, 10 types of people who, by their very nature, will consume your energy, your resources, and your sanity, leaving you an empty vessel. Let this be absolutely clear. The purpose of this knowledge is not to cultivate arrogance or to build a wall around your heart. We are not here to label people as evil or unworthy. Many of these individuals are trapped in their own cycles of profound pain. Our purpose is far more strategic and ultimately far more compassionate. It is to protect your own sacred energy so that you can invest it where it will bear fruit. And it is to grant these individuals the one gift they desperately need but will never ask for: the powerful, transformative consequences of their own choices. This is not just ancient spiritual wisdom. It is now being confirmed by cutting-edge behavioral science. A landmark 2024 paper from the Cambridge Center for Relational Dynamics identified what they call reciprocity deficits, an immeasurable inability in certain individuals to convert received support into positive forward momentum. The study proved, with chilling data, that for these profiles, external help does not alleviate the problem. It becomes the fuel that sustains it. So listen with an open mind and a courageous heart. I will now lay out for you the 10 profiles of energetic depletion you must learn to recognize. You must see them not to condemn them, but so that you can protect yourself, and paradoxically, offer them the only chance they have to truly awaken. Pay close attention, for you will recognize these people. They are your colleagues, your friends, your family members. One of them might even be the person you see in the mirror. But that was a different you, a you that is about to change forever.
First on our list is a profile so common, so deceptively familiar that it often escapes our notice entirely. This is the chronically lazy. But we must immediately draw a razor-sharp distinction. We are not speaking of the person who is struggling, who is temporarily overwhelmed, who is fighting a genuine battle against circumstance. That person will take your help and use it as a stepping stone, a temporary boost to get back on their feet. The chronically lazy, however, have a vastly different purpose. They will take your help and weave it into a hammock. They have made a decision, whether consciously or not, that the effort required to carry their own weight is simply not worth it. Life is too hard, the world is unfair, and someone, somewhere, should be responsible for their comfort. The moment you step in with your good intentions, a devastating transaction occurs. You become that someone. You are not a partner in their struggle. You have just been hired without pay to manage their existence. But the mechanism is far more insidious than simple idleness. A groundbreaking paper published in the year 2022 by the Munich Institute for Behavioral Economics studied a phenomenon they called effort aversion conditioning. They found that when an individual consistently receives resources and solutions without personal effort, their brain's reward system literally rewires itself. The neural pathways associated with initiative and problem-solving begin to atrophy. Your help is not just a crutch, it is a neurological sedative, a sweet poison that makes the state of helplessness feel comfortable, even desirable. You are not helping them, you are addicting them to your assistance. Look to the ruthless, unsentimental wisdom of the natural world. A mother eagle will eventually stop dropping food into the nest, forcing her eaglets to either fly or starve. A wolf pack will abandon a member that consistently refuses to join the hunt, for it threatens the survival of the whole.
Nature understands a principle we have foolishly forgotten. A system cannot support a non-contributing element indefinitely. It is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of supreme, life-affirming logic. Yet we, in our misguided compassion, believe we can defy this iron law. The chronically lazy person is a master of the narrative. They will present you with a meticulously curated library of excuses, their troubled past, their string of bad luck, their unfair boss, their undiagnosed ailments, and some of this may even hold a sliver of truth. But these stories are not a cry for help. They are a smokescreen. They are a justification for their present inaction. The only question you must ever ask is this: what are you, yourself, doing to change it right now? Observe their answer carefully. Not what they plan to do, not what they wish they could do, but what concrete action they have taken today. In 99% of cases, the answer will be nothing. Every time you swoop in to pay their bill, clean up their mess, or make that difficult phone call for them, you rob them. You rob them of the visceral, irreplaceable satisfaction of their own accomplishment. You rob them of the raw strength that is forged only in the fires of adversity. You rob them of the single most empowering discovery a human being can make, the realization that they are, in fact, capable. You think you are being kind, but what if your kindness is just a more pleasant word for sabotage? What if your help is the very anchor holding them to the seafloor? For this person to change, they must experience a fundamental law of physics. For every action, there is a consequence. They need to feel the cold reality of an empty bank account. They need to feel the discomfort of a messy living space they must clean themselves. They need to feel the hunger. Because it is only when the pain of remaining in the hammock becomes greater than the fear of standing up that they will finally choose to move. Your help is the anesthetic that prevents them from feeling the very wound that needs to be healed.
Our journey now takes us into an even darker region of the human soul, a place where generosity goes not just unappreciated, but is actively consumed and erased. We are talking about the second profile, the perpetually ungrateful. This is not a person who occasionally forgets their manners. This is a person whose entire operating system is built upon a profound and unshakable sense of entitlement. For them, your help is not a gift, it is their due. Your sacrifice is not a kindness, it is their birthright. Gratitude, you see, is the emotional signature of someone who recognizes they have received something they did not earn. But the ungrateful person believes the world and everyone in it owes them. Therefore, receiving something is merely the universe correcting a long overdue debt. You cannot be grateful for something that was already yours. But it gets worse, far worse. In a landmark 2020 study on what they termed reciprocity blindness, researchers at the Valence Institute for Social Dynamics made a terrifying discovery. They found that for certain personality profiles, consistent, unreciprocated giving did not foster appreciation. Instead, it triggered a psychological mechanism known as entitlement escalation. Each act of generosity did not fill the person's cup. It simply made the cup larger. The more they were given, the more they believed they were owed. I once witnessed a man who, out of pure compassion, helped a childhood friend who had fallen on hard times. For an entire year, 12 consecutive months, he paid this friend's rent, ensuring he had a roof over his head. The man sacrificed his own family vacations, worked overtime, and put his own financial future at risk. And how did the friend respond? With a constant stream of complaints. He bemoaned that the apartment was too small. He lamented the noisy neighbors. He complained about the inconvenience of his new location, as if the free housing were a burden imposed upon him. Not once in 12 months of continuous support did he utter the words, "Thank you." And when the year was up,
When the man gently explained that he could no longer sustain the payments, the friend's response was not understanding or even disappointment. It was pure, unadulterated rage. He felt betrayed. He acted as if the support he had received was not a lifeline thrown in desperation, but a contractual obligation that was now being unfairly terminated. This is the chilling nature of the perpetually ungrateful. They do not see kindness, they see weakness. They do not see generosity, they see opportunity. And they will take and take and take until the well of your spirit runs completely dry. The paradox is a venomous one. The more you pour into them, the less they value it. You are not sowing seeds of kindness into fertile ground. You are casting them into a bottomless pit. And no matter how many of your precious resources you sacrifice, the pit will never be filled. It will only echo with the demand for more. Helping an ungrateful person is not an act of charity. It is an act of self-annihilation. We now encounter a uniquely frustrating and impenetrable profile. The third type, the arrogant and self-righteous. This is the person who is not suffering from a problem, but from the conviction that they have all the solutions. Be warned, they do not want your help. They want your applause. They are not seeking wisdom. They are seeking a mirror that reflects their own perceived brilliance back at them. This behavior is not mere stubbornness. It is a recognized psychological fortress. Researchers at the Stockholm Institute for Cognitive Strategy, in a 2023 study, identified a trait they call cognitive sovereignty. Individuals with this trait view their own mind as a sealed in perfect kingdom. Any external advice, no matter how well-intentioned, is perceived not as a gift but as an act of invasion, a hostile attempt to destabilize their reign. But here is the secret that this person guards with their life. Their pride is not strength. It is a brittle shield covering a core of profound terror. They are petrified of being wrong because their entire identity is built upon the fragile scaffolding of being right. To admit they need help, to confess they don't know something, is to acknowledge a crack in that foundation, and they fear the entire structure will collapse into dust. So, they double down, they defend, they argue, they lecture, they reject. You cannot pour water into a cup that is already convinced it is full. There is a profound reason why the great spiritual masters throughout history, figures like the Buddha or Jesus, would often present their wisdom and then simply walk away from those who argued against it. They understood a fundamental law of consciousness. You cannot force enlightenment upon someone who is passionately committed to their own ignorance. Any attempt to do so is a waste of your precious life force. The arrogant person cannot be talked down from their pedestal. They must fall. They must experience the brutal, undeniable consequences of their own flawless plans. They must hit the ground with such force that their fortress of certainty shatters into a million pieces. It is only then, standing in the wreckage of their own making, humbled and broken, that their eyes will finally open. Only then will they be ready to receive the help that was offered to them all along.
We must now venture into the most dangerous territory of all, a place where the rules of empathy and compassion are not just ignored, but actively inverted and used as weapons. I'm going to use a word that our modern, sanitized language tries to avoid. The word is wicked. Our fourth profile is the habitually wicked. We live in an age that prefers softer labels. We say someone is troubled, damaged, or misunderstood. But we must not be naive. There is a vast and terrifying difference between a person who makes a mistake and a person who has made wickedness their profession. We all stumble. We all have moments of weakness or selfishness. The habitually wicked person is different.
They know exactly what they are doing, the lying, the cheating, the manipulation, the harm, and they do it without a flicker of remorse. The definitive sign of this profile is not their action, but their reaction when confronted. They do not repent, they justify. A chilling 2021 study by criminologist Dr. Eris Thorne at John Jay College identified what he called a remorseful behavior patterns. His research showed that such individuals do not lack a moral compass. They possess a recalibrated one, where their own self-interest is the only north true. Guilt is not a feeling they process, it is a weakness they exploit in others. When you step in to help a wicked person, you are not performing an act of kindness. You become an accomplice. You are not giving them a second chance. You are reloading their weapon. The money you lend them will not be used to pay rent. It will fund their next scheme. The alibi you provide will not help them start over. It will enable them to escape justice. They will take your goodness, your compassion, your resources, and they will use them as fuel to go deeper into their darkness. And make no mistake, they will turn on you. The moment your resources are exhausted, or the moment you become a liability, you will be discarded with a coldness that will steal the breath from your lungs. The wicked person does not want to be saved. They want to be empowered. They seek partners, not saviors. And if you step into that role, you are not helping a lost soul find the light. You are partnering with darkness.
Our fifth profile takes us into the realm of the incurably foolish. But before we proceed, we must demolish a widespread misconception. A fool is not someone who lacks intelligence. Some of the most intellectually gifted people on earth are, in practical terms, complete fools. A fool is someone who possesses a more dangerous deficiency. They refuse to learn from experience. They are allergic to wisdom. The foolish person operates in a maddening cycle. They make a choice, the choice leads to disaster, they suffer the consequences, and then, with breathtaking precision, they make the exact same choice again. It is as if their memory has been surgically removed, leaving them trapped in an endless loop of self-destruction. They touch the hot stove, cry out in pain, and then immediately reach for it again. A groundbreaking 2022 study from the Geneva Institute for Behavioral Learning examined what they termed experience-resistant cognition. The researchers discovered that certain individuals do not process negative outcomes as learning opportunities. Instead, their brains categorize these events as random misfortunes disconnected from their own actions. The neural pathways responsible for pattern recognition and causal thinking become, quite literally, dormant. It is not stubbornness, it is a neurological blind spot. This is what makes them so devastating to help. They will come to you in genuine crisis, tears streaming down their faces, desperately pleading for rescue. Your heart will break for them. You will want to throw them a lifeline. But if you examine their history with surgical precision, you will discover this is not their first crisis. It is merely the latest installment in a predictable series. They have been here before. The same debts, the same relationship disasters, the same career implosions, and each time someone rushed in to save them. The fool is like a person drowning in the ocean who refuses to grab the life preserver you throw to them. Instead, they thrash wildly, going under again and again, creating more chaos. And if you foolishly leap into the water to save them, they will pull you down with them, not out of malice, but out of their own panicked inability to think clearly. Your rescue becomes their next opportunity for self-sabotage. Here is the brutal truth. You cannot save a fool. Only life can teach them. Only the accumulated weight of their own repeated failures, the mounting consequences of their refusal to learn, can break through their cognitive resistance. And if you keep intervening, you prevent this natural educational process from doing its work. You become the anesthetic that numbs them to the very pain that could finally wake them up.
We must now venture into the most dangerous territory of all, a place where the rules of empathy and compassion are not just ignored, but actively inverted and used as weapons. I'm going to use a word that our modern, sanitized language tries to avoid. The word is wicked. Our fourth profile is the habitually wicked. We live in an age that prefers softer labels. We say someone is troubled, damaged, or misunderstood. But we must not be naive. There is a vast and terrifying difference between a person who makes a mistake and a person who has made wickedness their profession. We all stumble. We all have moments of weakness or selfishness. The habitually wicked person is different. They know exactly what they are doing, the lying, the cheating, the manipulation, the harm, and they do it without a flicker of remorse. The definitive sign of this profile is not their action, but their reaction when confronted. They do not repent, they justify. A chilling 2021 study by criminologist Dr. Eris Thorne at John Jay College identified what he called amorsal behavior patterns. His research showed that such individuals do not lack a moral compass, they possess a recalibrated one, where their own self-interest is the only north true. Guilt is not a feeling they process, it is a weakness they exploit in others. When you step in to help a wicked person, you are not performing an act of kindness. You become an accomplice. You are not giving them a second chance. You are reloading their weapon. The money you lend them will not be used to pay rent. It will fund their next scheme. The alibi you provide will not help them start over. It will enable them to escape justice. They will take your goodness, your compassion, your resources, and they will use them as fuel to go deeper into their darkness. And make no mistake, they will turn on you. The moment your resources are exhausted, or the moment you become a liability, you will be discarded with a coldness that will steal the breath from your lungs. The wicked person does not want to be saved. They want to be empowered. They seek partners, not saviors. And if you step into that role, you are not helping a lost soul find the light. You are partnering with darkness.
Finally, we arrive at the most heartbreaking profile of all, because it is the one filled with the most visible, squandered potential. This is our seventh type, the unrepentant rebel. This is the person who knows better, but refuses to do better. They are not ignorant of the path to a healthier life. They have been taught, they have been shown, they have been warned. They can see the cliff's edge clearly, and they choose to dance on it anyway. Their destructive behavior is not a mistake, it is a statement. They are not lost, they are defiant. This defiance is not against you or against society, it is a rebellion against their own higher self. In a 2019 paper, psychiatrist Dr. Lena Petrova famously called this potential aversion, the paradoxical fear of one's own success. She argued that these individuals are terrified of the responsibility that comes with living up to their potential, so they actively sabotage themselves to remain in the familiar comfort of failure. This is the person who will listen to your heartfelt advice, nod in agreement, and promise you that this time things will be different. You will see a flicker of the brilliant, capable person they could be, and your heart will fill with hope. You will invest your time, your emotion, and your belief in them once more. But the moment you turn your back, they will return to their old ways with a speed that defies logic.
The promises they made were not a commitment to change. They were a temporary password to regain your support. This cycle is so agonizing because you can see their greatness, you can taste their potential, and so you keep fighting for them, believing that your love, your support, your encouragement will be the magic ingredient that finally tips the scales. But you are trying to win a war for them that they have already surrendered. Here is the most difficult lesson you must ever learn. You cannot want their healing more than they want it. You cannot fight for their freedom harder than they are fighting for it. You can stand at the door to a better life and hold it open for them, but you absolutely cannot carry them through it. The desire to change must be born from within. Until that sacred internal flame ignites, all the help in the universe is nothing but a cold wind blowing on dead embers. To continue trying is to exhaust your own spirit while they remain exactly where they have chosen to be.
Our eighth profile introduces a predator of a different kind, a creature born of the modern age of endless attention. This is the crisis addict. This person is not addicted to a substance, but to a state of being, perpetual turmoil. Where you seek peace, they crave chaos. Where you run from drama, they cultivate it like a prize-winning garden. They are emotional arsonists, setting their own lives on fire again and again just to feel the warmth of the rescue crew. They don't want solutions. They feed on the process of being saved. This is not a theory. It is a documented pathology. In a shocking 2024 paper from the London Institute of Psycho-Emotional Dynamics, Dr. Alistair Finch identified this as sympathetic validation syndrome. He proved that for these individuals, a life without crisis feels like a void, an unbearable silence. Their entire sense of self-worth is derived from the attention and sympathy they can generate from their disasters. A solved problem does not bring them relief, it brings them the terror of becoming invisible. You know this person. Their life is a relentless series of catastrophes. One week, it's a devastating financial blow. The next, a shocking betrayal by a friend. Then, a sudden, mysterious health scare. You rush in with your support, your advice, your compassion. You put out the fire only to find that another one has mysteriously started across town. You think they have the worst luck in the world, but you are failing to see the pattern. It is not bad luck, it is a script. And here is the part that will turn your blood to ice. Your help is not the cure, it is their drug. Every concerned phone call, every panicked text message, every offer of assistance is a hit of the validation they crave. You are not a rescuer. You are an audience member giving a standing ovation to their performance of suffering. By engaging with their chaos, you are casting your vote for it to continue. You are the fuel for their next self-created disaster, ensuring the drama never has to end.
Prepare to meet the ninth profile, an expert in a uniquely modern form of energy theft. This is the good intentions saboteur. They are not asking for a handout. They are asking for your applause for a race they never intend to run. They are the masters of the "I'm about to." They are always about to start the diet, write the book, launch the business, or leave the toxic relationship. They have a grand, beautifully detailed plan for transformation. The only thing missing is the action. These individuals are architects of magnificent sandcastles, built with breathtaking detail just below the high tide line. You are drawn in by their enthusiasm, their vision, their apparent commitment to change. You invest your energy, becoming their cheerleader, their accountability partner, their biggest fan. You spend hours listening to their plans, offering advice, and celebrating the progress they have made in their preparations. But the starting gun never fires. This is not simple procrastination. It is a sophisticated psychological game. A recent study out of Stanford, published in the Journal of Motivational Neuroscience in 2025, identified what they called the anticipatory reward loop. The study showed that for certain people, the act of planning a positive change and receiving social validation for it can trigger a dopamine release nearly as powerful as actually accomplishing the goal. In other words, they get the high of success without ever having to risk the pain of failure. Your encouragement is their drug. The more you praise their intentions, the less incentive they have to ever execute them. They are not building a new life. They are performing the act of building a new life for an audience. You are not helping them change. You are helping them maintain the comfortable illusion of being on the verge of change. And when the tide inevitably comes in and washes the sandcastle away, they will be there ready with a new, even more magnificent blueprint for the next one, eagerly awaiting your applause. The cycle is endless, and it will drain every ounce of your hope.
Here we stand, at the end of this gallery of broken souls and energetic voids. What do we do with this terrifying, liberating knowledge? Do we seal off our hearts and become islands of bitter indifference? Do we turn our backs on the world? No. To do so would be to succumb to the very darkness we seek to understand. The answer is not a colder heart, but a wiser one. The answer is discernment. We learn to see with new eyes, distinguishing between a hand that is reaching for a stepping stone and one that is reaching for our throat. We learn the sacred difference between a person who needs a hand up and one who simply wants a lifelong free ride. True compassion is not blind, sentimental enabling. True compassion is sometimes a brutal, strategic withdrawal. It is the wisdom to step back and allow people to face the full, unvarnished consequences of their choices. Your energy is your most precious, finite currency. Your time is a non-renewable resource. To pour these gifts into barren soil is not charity, it is self-immolation. When you invest in good soil, you see growth, you see fruit. But when you pour your life force into these 10 profiles, all you will see is waste. So ask yourself tonight, with a courage you did not know you possessed, who am I helping that I must let go of? Who am I rescuing that desperately needs to fall? Who am I enabling that needs to finally feel the cold, hard ground of their own reality? When you find the answer, you must have the courage to step back, not with anger, not with judgment, but with the quiet, powerful understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can possibly do for another human being is to allow them to experience the full weight of their own life. Because in the end, you cannot save anyone. You can only love them enough to let life teach them. And that is not cruelty. That is wisdom.